taking a peek at the man behind the greatest sweets in fiction, dancing through daydreams in a magnificent musical, and discovering the wonder behind Wonka to leave you easily entertained. Welcome to Easily Entertained, a show dedicated to appreciating all the best parts of entertainment. My name's Bryson Olson, and I'm a filmmaker and a lover of all forms of storytelling. Here I will bring you along as we critique and analyze stories with a more positive take on why we enjoy them, and bring a new appreciation to the world of entertainment. Welcome back to Easily Entertained. I'm your host, Bryson Olson, here to bring you all things entertainment. And today we are talking about Wonka. I finally got to see it as it came out on Max, so I thought I would get into it as it kind of dives into the wonder and excitement of the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory story, but gets a bit more behind the scenes. Why is Willy Wonka the way he is, rather than just throwing him in and accepting it, which is okay. I kind of like that those stories, they don't take a lot of time to explain who Willy Wonka is, and instead just make you be like, okay, he's a thing, and just have a story with him. But it's kind of fun when you have these kind of exuberant characters to see how they got there. So I thought we would take a look at that. And with Wonka, kind of the main thing you get to look at is what's under the hat. What is the actual thing that drives Willy Wonka? Why did he become so successful and be the greatest chocolatier out of anybody? And it's kind of interesting. You know, this version of Willy Wonka, it's Timothy Chalamet, but it takes a lot of inspiration from the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971. The outfit is very similar, like almost exactly the same. The Oompa Loompa looks very similar to the ones in that 70s movie. And so, you know, it's kind of like they're trying to use it almost as like a prequel to kind of establish who Wonka is. And I like it. I like seeing how Wonka gets his start. He wasn't always just the best chocolatier there was. He was always the most exciting. He was exuberant. He had a lot of personality, and that supported him. And much like in the real world, personality can usually win over against a bigger brand. And that's very much what this show tries to say, is that it's more about the personality, not the brand. Because there's all these like big chocolatiers that Willy has to compete with, and they're all kind of pricks. But they do know that his product is better and his personality is a lot better than them, so he's eating into their profits. And so they're going to try and kick him out, get him thrown in jail, bribe the police to end his life. And it's kind of crazy. But what ends up winning in Willy's favor, once again, is his personality. If you have a good personality, that should be great. That should be good news. You can make it pretty far in life with just a good personality, and we love that around here. And with Wonka, that's no different. He makes friends even in unfortunate circumstances. Like, he tries to stay at like this inn, and he ends up getting like in debt with them, and so he has to like be a part of a laundry business. And he makes friends with the other people that work there who fell into similar circumstances with himself. And it's because he has such a great personality. That's how he gets people. He's charming, and he has dreams that people want to follow. And that's the mark of a really good businessman, is you have dreams that other people want to help you achieve. Think major directors, big companies. Like, I don't want to like really like praise them a whole lot because I still sometimes have my opinions, but like Apple, a lot of people got behind Steve Jobs of making a very like pristine looking smartphone, and now they're like a hugely successful company. And I find that interesting, and having a big personality to follow a brand is gonna make it more successful. And that's how success can really happen, is because of personality. Who is the person behind the brand? You don't really want to focus on the brand too much, but rather, how does the brand get there? And I think in this modern world especially, we are very much a behind the scenes culture. How does something get made? Like, yes, we love the product that comes out of it, but we're curious on why and how. And that is always fascinating to look into. And Wonka kind of takes a look at that. What's the why behind Wonka? How does he do what he does? Who is Wonka? And it dives a bit more deeper than just the surface level. And you want to, kind of get invested. You're like, okay, it's more of like a kind of almost rags to riches story. He was not just born with the silver spoon, which is like kind of almost different from the version with Johnny Depp, where like his dad is a dentist, so he's kind of rich, but he didn't really have any chocolate or whatever. And in this one, it's more he wanted to like make a bigger name for himself, not just because he wanted fame, but to be able to share something with the world. And I think that's kind of exciting. He gets to share his dream, and that's always a cool idea to kind of tackle and see how it works, especially just in like some kind of creative sense. But speaking of dreams, the music is very dreamlike. They're constantly going throughout the movie and singing different things. And I didn't really know that it was a full-on musical. It was probably advertised that way, but I didn't watch a ton of the Wonka trailers. And I didn't go see it when it was in theaters. I only saw it when it was on Max. And like, I must have just forgot. Like, I probably had heard it was a musical and was like, oh, okay, that's cool, but just never like registered it all that much. So like, it didn't take me off guard because like the other ones all have a lot of music in them. But I was also like, oh, I forgot this is a musical. But what I kind of like about it is both an actual musical as well as a movie that features music. And if you don't exactly know the difference between those two things, educate yourself. No, I'm kidding. A musical is a movie that has a product that has music in it that's not a part of the world. So you can think like most Disney movies are musicals because the music is not essential to their world. They just kind of randomly break out into song. Whereas a movie that features music has songs that are actually physically a part of the world. Like High School Musical is a good example of both. They have songs that are actually part of the world, like when they're putting on their little theater performances, but they also have parts that are not actually part of the universe. They just break out into song and then go right back to normal. And Wonka is a very similar situation. They have certain songs that are part of the world and they serve a purpose in the world. When Wonka starts to sell his chocolate in like this gallery gourmet or whatever it's called, where all the chocolatiers are, he sings, he performs, and it's not just out of nowhere. It can be taken more as a way to show off his exuberant personality. It's a performance to help him sell his chocolate. It is still a musical as a movie, but this specific song helps Wonka in his actual journey. He's a part of the world and it is shared with the rest of the world. And it kind of like evolves as a song, because there's a song within the movie and then it becomes like almost part of the movie, where it like starts off as that part of the world and then everyone joins in, and then it's more of a musical moment rather than just featuring music. And Wonka is like this kind of exciting, imaginative guy that dreams a lot. It shows his perception a lot of the time. So the music most of the time is part of Wonka's world. It's not part of everyone else's world, but a lot of the time it is part of his world. It is used to show his dreams, his imagination, his excitement, his despair. It is a part of him, and he is fully aware that he is singing. Everyone else is like, what the heck is this guy doing? They even have a funny moment at the beginning of the movie where he's kind of daydreaming and singing along and dancing, and a cop notices and no one else is dancing along. In Wonka's mind, everyone is, but it's only in Wonka's mind. And so it's a part of Wonka's world, but not everyone else. So there's sort of like a duality to it, where it's like a musical and not at the exact same time. And that is really interesting. And like the Oompa Loompa tells a tale in song. He's not saying it and Wonka's making up like, oh, he's singing it. No, the Oompa Loompa actually sings the tale. It is part of the world rather than just breaking into song. But there are also a lot of music numbers that are an actual musical style where they just break out into song for no reason. Like when Wonka gets sent down to the little laundry workshop in the inn, that is more of a musical number rather than a music number, because they're not really singing for a purpose. It's not part of the actual world, but rather just to fuel the story. And so they're singing not as a part of the world. And so that kind of situation, the musical numbers are more to represent types of feelings. Depression, like they don't really want to work there, or characters not being as exciting. Like the other chocolatiers, they don't have the imagination that Wonka does. So their kind of songs are not very dreamlike. They are kind of like almost logical, but not exactly. They're real world. It doesn't feel like you're taking a part of an imagination, of a dream, and going into that. Whereas Wonka's songs, the musical numbers as well, highlight his imagination. They highlight his dreams and use that as a way to represent who Wonka is as a person, not just his perception of the world, rather his internal feelings rather than outward feelings, if that makes any sense. But it's kind of fun. And speaking also trailing into Wonka's Wonder a bit more, it kind of represents a lot of who Wonka is and why he became a chocolatier, why he wanted to sell chocolate and candy to the world. And it's his inspiration. The source of all his wonder is his mom. As a kid, he would learn little magic tricks and get really good at them just so he could make his mom smile. She was his inspiration. The whole thing around him wanting to do chocolate and candy was so he could share his mom's chocolate that she would make, and he could share that with the world. And something I find super interesting about this book, it's very much like, because you're going into the mind of Wonka and who he is and why he does what he does, it's very much a representation of artists and how they function. A lot of the times, artists, they're not exactly focusing on others. If they are, it could be for a purpose. It could help drive their art. But for the most part, art is done for yourself. And I'm speaking as like someone who loves to draw, as someone who likes making film and painting and just any kind of art idea, photography, whatever. It is a form for yourself. Sure, you can make things for other people, but you put a lot of yourself into your projects, even if it's for someone else. You use a lot of your creative thinking. You get to use like your visual mind or like problem solving in different kind of ways rather than just in a more analytical sense. And it's just a very personal thing. It's, for some artists, it can even be like a spiritual thing. And for me, I've had those kind of moments as well, but it kind of depends, where it's very much a thing for yourself. It does. It's something that makes you feel good, and sometimes by proxy, it helps make others feel good because you get to share it. And Wonka is such a good representation for that, because he doesn't focus a lot on just pleasing others. He would like them to be pleased, but it's because he wants them to smile. It's not because he wants to make money. A lot of the times, it's like a monetary aspect. A lot of artists, like, they'll make money, but that's not their driving force. Their driving force is because they get to create something that they're proud of, that they can share with other people. And that's exactly what Wonka is. That's why he's such major competition in the film, because he doesn't care much about money. Every piece of chocolate he sells is usually just a single, what is it, like sovereign coin or whatever. I don't remember exactly what they call it. But that's his driving force, is just making people smile. It's making the chocolate, getting to have these fun creations, and just being able to share them with people. The profit is nice, but it's not the reason for everything. And it all starts with Wonka's mom. He wanted to make her smile. He wanted to share his mom's chocolate with the world, and he wanted her to be by his side when they opened up their own shop and factory, but sadly he was not able to do that. And so since his mom isn't there, he decides he just wants to bring the world fun and wonder and imagination and dreams. And that's like the whole reason for the song, come with me and you'll be in a world of imagination. That is Wonka's whole driving force, is not profit. It's imagination. It's the wonder of life. It's why a lot of Wonka's sequences, or anytime like the magic and chocolate is shown that Wonka produces, it's so colorful and dreamlike, and they're kind of floating everywhere, and it's like not even like I would say softer music, but it's music that is more designed to make you feel good, and that's for a reason, because it's very dream and imagination like, and that is what makes Wonka who he is. And I love that this movie took that approach to really discover who Wonka is as a person. I find it super enjoyable, and of course Wonka leaves you pretty easily entertained. We love it. But before we go, we got the rating. What is our rating of Wonka? And you say rating, you may be a bit confused on our rating, because we don't do a 1 to 10 scale here on Easily Entertained, because we enjoy things a bit too much. I wouldn't even say it's too much. We just love to be entertained. And so we have a different kind of scale. We can't really just use our 1 to 10. We have to use something a bit more descriptive in order to organize things. So going from the worst to the best, we have garbage. You have once is fine, where you could only see it once and be fine, and you probably don't ever need to see it again. For me, that's like Citizen Kane. Not really my cup of tea. You have the right mood. You have to be in the right mood. It's pretty self-explanatory. You have Quotable. You can kind of remember some things from the film. It's not always, you're not going to remember everything. And it's still not going to be your number one choice. But you will remember things. You have your go-to, which is almost your first thought. I know, it almost sounds like your first thought. But go-to is more like you're with your friends and you're trying to decide on a movie, and this is one of the ones that you can very quickly come to. And then you have all day, every day. This is like your desert island movie. If you had to pick one movie that you could only watch for the rest of time, this is the type of movie that you would pick, is an all day, every day. And I personally would put Wonka, I would say Quotable. I think it's a pretty good movie, and you can still remember a lot of the fun and excitement from it, but it's not always going to be your number one pick. And for me, some of that is like the technical aspects of it. Some of it does seem sort of cheesy and a bit fake. There are a couple like CGI sequences that I'm not hugely fond of, just because they're not like super blended into the world. But for the most part, I love it. And since it is part of Quotable, I'll try introducing this a bit more anytime I suggest Quotable as the rating, is a quote from the movie. And this one comes from Willie's mom, and I kind of love it. It's a very wholesome kind of quote that, kind of inspires you. It's, every good thing in this world started with a dream, so hold on to yours. So I love that. So I will give Wonka a Quotable rating. And last thing before we go, we have our question of the week, designed to get you invested in the discussion about entertainment and, just things in general. And this one is relating to Wonka, not like directly, but it involves what Wonka is a part of, which is candy and chocolate. So the question of the week is, you may have guessed it, what is your favorite candy? And, that's such a hard choice to make because there are so many good candies. And for me, I kind of go back and forth on a lot of different ones. Like sometimes I'll eat a lot of very specific candies and then switch to other ones. And probably my good go-tos of candy, I probably have two, which would be Reese's Cups, and it's pronounced Reese's. It's not Reese's. If you pronounce it Reese's, you're wrong. It's Reese's. And Butterfingers. As much as they get stuck in your teeth, I really love Butterfingers. They're so good. But yeah, those are my favorite candies. Let's hear your favorite candies. Let us know either in the comments down below on Spotify, Instagram, wherever. Let us know what is your favorite candy. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Easily Entertained as we reviewed Wonka. And until next time, we'll see ya. Bye. You have been entertained.